we just showed what we're capable of on the biggest stage in the world.
Murray, jumper, puts it in. Jokic drives down a lane, layup is good. Jokic is having his way, feeling it.
It's a good feeling, changing the world.
Murray, jumper, puts it in. Jokic drives down a lane, layup is good. Jokic is having his way, feeling it.
It's a good feeling when you know that you did something that nobody believes in.
At last, the long wait is over. After 47 years, the Denver Nuggets can finally call themselves NBA champions.
I told that I don't want to stay on parade, but I want to stay on parade.
This is 47 years in the making.
Are we champs for life?
That was 666 days ago. Some might say that number is an ominous sign as we revisit today's breaking news. Denver head coach Michael Malone and general manager Calvin Booth both were fired today, according to our Shams Charania. He reported that right before we came on air. Now, Malone was the fourth longest tenured coach with his current team. He led the Nuggets, of course, to that championship we just saw in 2023. And while Denver has lost 4 straight games, the timing of this dismissal less than a week before the end of the regular season, that's what's perplexing, because the Nuggets, they're tied, if you look here, with the Clippers, the Warriors, the Wolves, the Grizzlies in the loss column. And that kind of traffic jam, it happens every morning over on the 101, but it hasn't happened in the NBA since 1970, 1971. We're just 5 days away, remember, from the playoff picture being completely locked in. So let's just take a look at the strength of schedule, the top seed. But that number 2 spot, it's still in play for both the Rockets and the Lakers. That said, Houston's magic number is just 1 to clinch it. And here's where things get really interesting. Okay, this is insane. It's overwhelming. But look at this, 3 through 8. Totally up for grabs.
The Lakers could be 2 through 8.
Exactly. The Nuggets, the Clippers, the Warriors, the Wolves, the Grizzlies all have a chance to land anywhere within that range. And tonight, the stakes, they couldn't be higher. Now, the Denver Nuggets, they don't play till tomorrow. They take on the Sacramento Warriors, the Wolves, the Grizzlies all have a chance to land anywhere within that range. And tonight, the stakes, they couldn't be higher. Now, the Denver Nuggets, they don't play till tomorrow. They take on the Sacramento Kings, but they will be doing so without their head coach of the last 10 years in Michael Malone. Our Shams Charania is here with more. Shams, it's the timing. I keep saying it again and again of his firing that is so shocking. What led to this decision?
Essentially, Denver Nuggets ownership believed that they need to pull the plug now, that there was a decision that was coming at the end of the season. Calvin Booth, for all intents and purposes, was likely going to be out after the season. There had been something of a Cold War brewing between Michael Malone and Calvin Booth, the heads of this organization. And the way the season was going and trending, 4 straight losses, they felt something needed to change. And if you're going to dismiss one or the other come summertime, just dismiss them both together. And so Josh Kroenke called both into separate meetings this morning in Denver. Weren't together, and that's for a reason. They called them both in separately, and he decided to flip the culture, and he didn't want to wait. He wanted to inject this team with some life going into the playoffs. And as stunning as this was for both Michael Malone, Calvin Booth, this was equally as stunning to the players when Josh Kroenke and Nuggets management informed them of this decision after it was out there. And the players are stunned as well. And what message now do they have going into the playoffs and the finishing moments of this season?
Yeah, and that's sort of the question that I think all of us have now is there's only a couple of days to flip the page and to try to make a deep postseason run. We just laid out, Brian, how precarious of a situation the Denver Nuggets are in right now. How do they continue and try to have a deep playoff push?
Well, Josh Kroenke, the team's governor, gave an interview to their in-house media. Vic Lombardi, who's one of the TV hosts at Altitude, which is owned by the team. And what has come out so far from that is that he wants the team to play with more joy and to have fun again, which I'm sure they'll be more articulated later. But it sounds like what the message he's trying to send is move away from Michael Malone, who was definitely a pound the rock, beat the team down, very aggressive, very intense style, to sort of a more lighthearted style. Maybe. I mean, and to me, I would say Jamal Murray's hamstring is a bigger concern than whether the team is in a better mood. But as Perk showed us with those clips, something within the team wasn't working. That style delivered them a championship and hundreds of wins over the years. But Josh Kroenke believes that at this point, they need that changeup. We'll see if that works. Maybe in 3 weeks, they're on a run and we say it was genius. But today, it feels like it's a little bit risky.
You know why? You know why he feels that way, Wendy, when he talk about playing with more joy? Because we've been watching, although Jokic had been putting up monster numbers, That joy hasn't been there for him, right? We've been seeing signs of frustration. And he's so talented that he can still play through all that and put up Wilt-type numbers. But imagine Jokic playing with that joy and that happiness again. And here's another thing, right? This firing doesn't happen without the okay from Nikola Jokic. And I know reports are probably going to continue to come out. I know this is fresh, but it's nowhere in hell you can make me believe with a player to that stature that he didn't have anything or say in far as Michael Malone being fired. I said the same thing when Mike Budenholzer was let go from the Milwaukee Bucks. I said the same thing when it came down to Darvin Ham getting let go from the Los Angeles Lakers. The players have a say, especially when you're talking about best players in the world, superstar caliber players. And guess what? It's okay. It's okay. I never said I had a problem with players having it. It's not going to own it. Hell, we may not ever hear reports. They may keep it tight niche. They may protect them, which they should do, which is why they fired both the GM and the coach, because they're saying, we got Nikola Jokic. We got to make sure we protect him. We got to make sure that he retire as a Denver Nugget and deliver another championship.
Well, certainly history tells us that star players, they do have a say at times within these sorts of big decisions made within different organizations. But
and deliver another championship.
Well, certainly history tells us that star players, they do have a say at times within these sorts of big decisions made within different organizations. But Shams, do we have any insight right now as to how this is reverberating with Nikola Jokic only ever having known Michael Malone as his head coach in the NBA?
Malika, Josh Kroenke as an organization not picking a side between Calvin Booth and Michael Malone. That was a decision that was coming at the end of the season, no matter how this season ended. Unless it ended in a championship and there was confetti falling from the skies in Denver, they were going to make a move. And everyone around the league expected it to be Calvin Booth. Now, the fact that it is Michael Malone, that goes to some of what Brian just said about them trying to, I guess, change it up, play with more joy. But how does that actually happen, right? We saw it occur similarly with Taylor Jenkins in Memphis. It's like, let's figure out how we want to play differently. Can we infuse a different style? But to me, it's really, you feel like your season is going to end in a way that's not favorable for you. So you're getting out ahead of this decision. But this is a team that is fighting. You talk about that 4 to 8 range right now in the standings, or 4 to 7. They're all jumbled up. So they could very easily be in home court, or they could be fighting for the play-in. It is stunning for a team in 4th place for a championship coach to be fired with just a couple games left before the end of the regular season.
Well, Nikola Jokic has never been the type of player who works closely with ownership on decisions. But regardless of whether that...
With just a couple games left before the end of the regular season.
Well, Nikola Jokic has never been the type of player who works closely with ownership on decisions. But regardless of whether that conversation took place, Perk, you showed the video earlier, the ownership is seeing what you saw, which is, you know, Jokic's intensity level maybe not be where they 30.0 points with his triple-double numbers. But obviously, they are paying attention to his body language and the way his intensity is 30.0 points with his triple-double numbers. But obviously, they are paying attention to his body language and the way his intensity is on the court, and that may be just as powerful as anything he could have said about the state of the team.
Well, it feels, though, that they're not looking at the complete team right now. They can't. There's no Jamal Murray. He hasn't been out there for 5 games. And Jamal Murray, we have talked about endlessly on this show, is so incredibly important to any sort of title run or deep playoff run that this team is willing, or is going to make, rather. They fire Michael Malone instead. Okay, fine. That's the decision that they made. But, Perk, I don't know that I sit here and feel better about the Denver Nuggets today with a new head coach than I did yesterday with Michael Malone. Jamal Murray still isn't out there. How do you feel?
And guess what, Malika? I have the same feelings as you about this Denver Nugget team. This season is a wash. I feel the same way about the Memphis Grizzlies. Both are dead bird, tall grass. But let me say this. Now it comes to the conversation, because this is another conversation. This is something, Shams, I want to ask you. Okay, you fire Calvin Booth. Now all of a sudden you got to get someone that's going to replace him, right? And now it's a different conversation, because you do have Nikola Jokic, right? And we have a lot of conversations on here day to day. Dealing with a hamstring injury? Absolutely not. And the way that the West is stacked up, you need a Jamal Murray to be 100%. And no one could tell me that we're sitting up here, we watched the Boston Celtics go out and get Drew Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis last year to upgrade their roster, went on to win a championship. We watched we watched the Bucks make a move to get Damian Lillard. We watched the Cavs make a move to get DeAndre Hunter. We watched OKC in the offseason go and get Isaiah Hartenstein and Alex Caruso. We're watching all these teams, Karl Anthony Towns to the Knicks, all these teams go all in to make sure they surround their player to have the best shot at winning the title. And you can't tell me that the future is like they're looking at this team and saying, oh yeah, we actually could win a title with this team after not re-signing Kate Caldwell Pope, Bruce Brown, and Jeff Green after they won the title.
The Nuggets have always run a little bit more fiscally responsible. That I don't see that changing, and they've always gone out and hired good young executives. They have not valued their executives who have had success. They have let them walk, and they have hired good young executives, and they've repeatedly been able to find them. So I'm not surprised that the Denver ownership thinks that they can't find those who have had success. They have let them walk, and they have hired good young executives, and they've repeatedly been able to find them. So I'm not surprised that the Denver ownership thinks that they can't find them. Josh Kroenke has articulated they felt they needed a change of mood. And I don't know, maybe vibes will make a difference here, but I don't know.
I'm not sure that vibes, though, is the way that you measure firing a head coach. It seems like a little bit more needs to go into it than just that. But let's take a look, Perk. You and I don't necessarily feel better about the Nuggets' chances today than we did yesterday. Here's how ESPN Sportsbook took the Malone news. Before, they had 22-1 odds to win it all, and now that drops to 30-1. Ahead of them, there's the team they've defeated in the playoffs the last 2 years, of course, the Los Angeles Lakers. They're also in a crucial stretch of their season. As Dave McMahon joins us now, he's along for the Lakers ride, currently coming from OKC. Dave, they already got the win against the Thunder on Sunday. So I said on the show yesterday, I might take that. I might be happy with a split and refocus on a huge game tomorrow for Luka's return to Dallas. But I'm not the coach. What are the plans for the Lakers back-to-back here?
Well, we know for sure, Malika, that Rui Hachimura will not play tonight. He's out with left knee tendinopathy. He hasn't been playing in back-to-back since he came back from that injury a couple weeks ago. But then half the rotation are also on the injury report. LeBron's on there with that left groin strain that caused him to miss a couple of weeks recently. Luka Doncic has a new injury, a right groin strain that caused him to be on the injury report. You also have key rotation players like Austin Reeves, Gabe Vincent, and Dorian Finney-Smith on there. Now, the Lakers listed all those guys other than Rui Hachimura as questionable, which will allow them, should they choose or should they need to downgrade them to doubtful later on as the day progresses without getting in trouble from the NBA for resting guys when they shouldn't be. And, of course, as we know, the kind of carrot at the end of the stick is they have this game tomorrow in Dallas, which certainly will have both standings implications, but also just kind of chemistry implications, wanting to win that thing for Luka Doncic and his return. Yeah, it's going to be an emotionally charged game, certainly tomorrow night in Dallas. Dave McMahon, thank you so very much. The Lakers, they have 4 games left. 3 of the 4 are against teams who have something to play for. Tomorrow, it will be one of the biggest games in recent memory, maybe the biggest return game we've ever seen. Our Tim McMahon details why the Luka AD swap, it will go down as the most shocking trade in NBA history.
Obviously, we didn't win finals, but we did have a hell of a season, and I'm proud of every one of them. We'll fight together next season, and we're just going to believe.
It was a few Christmases ago where Luka Doncic leaned all the way into his adopted American homeland. He pulled his blue 68 Camaro into the arena parking garage and emerged from the hot rod looking like a Texan from head to toe, sporting a black adopted American homeland. He pulled his blue 68 Camaro into the arena parking garage and emerged from the hot rod looking like a Texan from head to toe, sporting a black cowboy hat and a pair of OKC boots. Doncic opted for comfort after lighting up the Lakers and leading the Mavericks to a win, throwing on some sweats for his post-game media session. But he remained unveiled outside the American Airlines Center, overlooking the street named after the Euro who earned the distinction of being Dallas royalty. The inscription on that statue summed up unveiled outside the American Airlines Center, overlooking the street named after the Euro who earned the distinction of being Dallas royalty. The inscription on that statue summed up Dirk's record-setting 21-year career in Dallas with 21 letters. Loyalty never fades away. That inscription also served as inspiration for Luka, who stood right behind his friend and former teammate during that ceremony.
Gobert is out there. Doncic maneuvers for the lead. Got it! What a shot!
Doncic didn't only picture himself spending his entire career in Dallas, he planned on it. Lakers, of all teams.
I'm sorry they're frustrated, but it's something that we believe in as an organization. It's going to make us better. We believe that it sets us up to win not only now, but also in the future. And when we win, I believe the frustration will go away.
Murphy's Law is stated as anything that can go wrong will go wrong. That sums up the last 2 months for the Mavs. Any hope of contending ended with Kyrie Irving's catastrophic knee injury. The fans' frustration is turning into apathy. And now Doncic returns to Dallas, wearing purple and gold. Darn sure not looking like a Texan. A painful sight for folks that felt he'd be theirs forever.
Doncic! And immediately turns to the Mavericks bench.
You know he wants to make a statement.
Dallas was my home for almost 7 years. It really felt like home.
A sellout crowd will welcome him home. This will be a celebration of Luka's spectacular 6.5 seasons in Dallas.
The fourth highest scoring game in NBA history.
Overshadowed by the deep sadness that it didn't last a whole lot.